Someone made you question your own memory, your own feelings, your own sanity. And the worst part, you thank them for it. What happened to you has a name, and today you are going to understand it so clearly, so completely, that you will never fall for it again. This is Cipher, and today we are unlocking one of the most documented and most devastating forms of psychological manipulation ever studied. It is called gaslighting. The word comes from a 1944 film called Gaslight. In it, a husband secretly dims the gas-powered lights in their home. And then, when his wife notices the room getting darker, he calmly looks her in the eyes and says, "You're imagining it." Over and over, every night, until she begins to believe him. That image, a person being made to distrust their own senses by someone they love, became the foundation of one of the most studied phenomena in all of clinical psychology. Today, gaslighting does not need a dimmer switch. It happens in conversations, in text messages, in the quiet moments after an argument, where you are left wondering, wait, was that my fault? Before we go deeper, if you have ever walked away from a conversation feeling confused about what actually just happened, this video is for you. Hit the like button right now. It helps more people find this content when they need it most. Gaslighting never starts with a dramatic lie. It builds slowly, like water wearing down stone. Researchers have identified a predictable 6-stage escalation pattern. Understanding these stages is what makes them powerless over you. Stage 1, denial. That never happened. The foundation. Your reality is flatly rejected. There is no argument, just erasure. Stage 2, deflection. You're too sensitive. The problem is no longer what they did. The problem is how you are reacting to it. Your emotions become the issue. Stage 3, diversion. Every time you raise a concern, the subject changes. You are left chasing a conversation that never actually arrives. Stage 4, trivializing. You're overreacting to nothing. Even if you are allowed to feel something, it gets minimized into insignificance. Your pain is made to seem embarrassing. Stage 5, forgetting. I don't remember saying that. Selective amnesia, deployed strategically. The conversation you both had suddenly exists only in your head. Stage 6, blame. Look what you made me do. The final transfer. Responsibility for the gaslighter's own actions is placed entirely on you. You are now the abuser in their story. What makes this progression so insidious is the design. Each stage is engineered to transfer ownership of the problem, from the person causing the harm to the person experiencing it. And once that transfer is complete, the victim begins to gaslight themselves. They dismiss their own feelings before anyone else can. They go quiet. They shrink. Here is what most people do not know, and what makes gaslighting uniquely dangerous. It does not just hurt your feelings. It physically alters your brain. Research published in the Journal of Trauma and Dissociation shows that sustained psychological manipulation activates the same biological stress pathways as physical trauma. We are talking about cortisol floods, sustained fight or flight activation, and chronic inflammation of neural tissue. Now here is where it gets truly disturbing. The hippocampus, the brain region responsible for encoding and retrieving memories, begins to malfunction under chronic stress. The very organ you use to remember what was said, what happened, and what is real, starts to fail. So when your gaslighter says, "You don't remember it right," after months or years of sustained manipulation, that statement quietly becomes neurologically accurate. Not because you are weak, not because you are unstable, but because your brain has been biochemically damaged by an environment of sustained psychological stress. This is not a metaphor. This is measurable. And it is not your fault. If this is landing for you, If you are nodding along and starting to recognize something, drop a comment below. Tell me, which stage did you recognize first? Your experience might help someone else finally name what they are going through. I read every single one. You do not need to wait for it to be extreme. Here are 3 early warning signs that something is wrong. Sign 1. You consistently leave conversations confused. Not just uncertain, confused. Like you went in knowing what you felt and came out unsure whether you were even allowed to feel it. That disorientation is not normal. It is a symptom of someone actively rewriting the conversation as it happens. Sign 2. You apologize constantly for things that are not your fault. You say sorry before you have even finished a thought. You apologize for having needs, for asking questions, for existing in a space and taking up room. This reflex was trained into you. It was not always there. Sign 3. You cannot explain why you feel bad, but you always feel bad around this person. You do not have a word for it. You do not have a specific incident to point to. You just know that after every interaction, something inside you feels fractured. Pay attention to that. Your nervous system knows things before your conscious mind does. These are not coincidences. These are not personality flaws. These are symptoms of a pattern with a name. Here is the most powerful thing you can do to begin recovering. It costs nothing. It requires no therapist, no confrontation, no permission from anyone. Write things down. Immediately after every significant interaction, write it down. Date it. Include what was said, what you felt, and what you observed. Be specific. Be detailed. Do not edit yourself. Why does this work? Because gaslighting is a war on your internal record keeping. Your journal becomes the external memory that your stressed hippocampus can no longer reliably provide. When someone says, "That never happened," your documentation says otherwise, in ink, with a date. Over time, this practice does something profound. It rebuilds the one thing gaslighting systematically destroys: your trust in your own perception of reality. You stop second-guessing yourself because you have evidence. You have a record. You have your own words written in your own hand at a moment when you knew clearly what was real. That is how you begin to take your mind back. Start your documentation journal tonight. Even 1 paragraph, even 3 sentences. The act of writing, "This happened, I felt this is what was said," is the first act of reclaiming your reality. Save this video so you can come back to it, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. You were never crazy. You were never too sensitive. You were never the problem. Someone simply needed you to believe that you were, because your self-doubt was the only power they had over you. Now you know what it is. Now you can name it. And things you can name, you can survive. This is what we do here at Cipher. We decode the hidden patterns in psychology, in behavior, in the way power moves between people, so that you can move through the world with clarity instead of confusion. If this video gave you something real, subscribe, hit the bell. You will never get noise from this channel, only signal. Every week we bring you one concept that changes the way you see yourself and the world around you. That is the mission. That is the cipher. Welcome to Cipher. Your mind was always worth protecting. Now, you will know how.